what are the metaphysical primitives that must exist and how must they interrelate in order for me to even be here reasoning about these questions at all in the first place? The CTMU is an answer to that question.
That's correct. And basically what it says is you don't have a fundamental distinction between the a priori and the a posteriori in the first place. Okay? You've got to put them together. You've got to put them together. And that is your fundamental reality. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
You can never take them apart completely. It's an evolutionary process whereby an identity simply self-differentiates as it evolves, right? And it starts with this one unified metasubstance or ontic ground state, which in the CTMU is called telesis.
Right. One thing that people who don't get the CTMU often remark is that it seems very complicated, like it has lots of moving parts.
It is the simplest and most elegant theory in existence.
Right. I think my response to that is that it actually has homograph complexity 0. The analogy I make is with the fine-tuning constant, where on the one hand, it seems like that constant seems set so precisely in a way that enables life that it feels kind of mysterious and arbitrary on some level.
And yet it's dependently originated.
That level is the wrong vantage frame from which to be thinking about it. Because from the fact that you're here to even think about it at all, it has to be set in such a way that you can...
Precisely, according to dependent origination. Okay, it is a function of everything else in the universe. So in evolving, because the universe distributes its nature over everything, that constant and other constants of nature naturally emerge.
Right, and the analogy I want to make is between the intricate precision of the fine-tuning constant and the intricate precision of the CTMU, where that it's not a bunch of arbitrary details strung together. It's sort of the minimal set of right, exactly. The minimal set of philosophical primitives you need to even wonder about whether the CTMU can make sense in the first place.
Right. Well, the CTMU does make sense in the first place. If nothing else makes sense, it does, right? But the CTMU is precisely what you need to understand how reality, the reality that we live in and share with each other, how that makes sense. The CTMU explains that by putting everything together in one unified identity and then describing how that identity evolves without ever losing coherence. It maintains its coherence from the alpha to the omega, all right? We've had many of these discussions before, and I've explained to you how that happened, okay? We have to re-quantize things metaformally, replace events with meta-events, replace ordinary points of space with syntactic or identity operators, right? Thusly, we've got different states. This concept of state is different, and the concept of event is different, okay? And once we adjust those accordingly, then we can make the universe, the global identity of reality, we can make it evolve in the way that I'm talking, coherently, right?
Yeah. This brings me to one of the core insights I picked up from talking with you, Chris, about the CTMU concerning the nature of mind and matter and how they interrelate, where the mainstream scientific worldview says matter is fundamental and everything else just supervenes on top. And then you have some idealists that say, no, mind is fundamental. Everything apparently material is just perceived within. And one thing I picked up from engaging with the CTMU was the idea that matter depends on mind and mind depends on matter.
Very good.
And it might appear on the outset that this leads to an infinite regress or circular logic of some sort. And that was something that used to trip me up until I realized that this sort of self-reference could instead just mean that the structures at hand are self-similar, like a fractal or hologram.
Right.
And yeah.
And the reality is logically idempotent. Okay, it basically returns itself as a product. Every operation that occurs in its evolution returns identities as identities. Okay, it's called idempotence, and the same thing works in the opposite direction. No matter how far you want to regress, you can always, if you want to regress further, you have to apply the same syntax to itself over again. That's what idempotence is, or idempotence, depending on how you pronounce it. I'm not in academia, so I don't know how they pronounce things. I pronounce them my own way.